So I just have a few minutes. And let's see if this wants to come out in the way that is articulate. So as a psychotherapist, I'm laughing because this doesn't know where to start. We live in a very puritanical culture in the US. Like that's how our country was founded. And there are certain values around sex and sexuality from a puritanical value system that were celibate, that were chaste, that were upright, that were buttoned up, that we don't really show pleasure. I know that this isn't exclusive to the US, but I'm using the example of what's here in this country that I'm living in. And I certainly have experienced it in other countries, but in different flavors. So this assumption of the foundation of our culture has pervaded quite significantly in terms of like the social rules and what we're taught to repress, essentially, because sexuality blossoms like at birth, whether you are comfortable or not noticing that in your own family or self is a reflection of how you were either taught to invite that or push it down. And the flip side of the puritanical values, because it's so limiting and limited, is now that we also have the kind of whiplash, is that the right word? Backlash identity of like the other polarity, being very sexually conservative or being very sexually liberated. I don't even know if mainstream would use the word liberated, but being, for a man, hypersexual, like aggressive, assertive, powerful, dominant, strong, like not vulnerable to emotion. For a woman, like a certain appearance, a certain way of being appeasing and submissive and open, receptive all the time. And then, I mean, those are the heteronormative male, female, and then there are all of the other variations of sexual orientation and who should or shouldn't be attracted and how they should or shouldn't be attracted. So I could go into the whole rainbow of shades of this, but I won't. And I'll just say, like, speaking about this as a woman is I don't feel it in a personal way right now, but on an interconnected way is vulnerable for me because of how sexualized the female identity is. That me even talking about sexuality is gonna have a reactivity response for some people, which is fine. I mean, it's not fine. I don't tolerate it, and I will filter messages out that feel harmful. But it's it's to be expected in the environment that we live in, that because of the power of sexuality as a force of energy to create, the force of creation, which is quite pleasurable when there's an openness to it. Like creation can happen through destruction, which can be uncomfortable or painful, but the openness of creation and sexuality is very arousing and beautiful and intimate. And to push that down, to repress that, requires a very strong force. It requires a lot of repetition of, okay, shut that down, 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 until the individual human and the societal level humans live in a state of contraction to that dynamic, embodied process within who they are, what they are. I'll say, like, in my psychotherapy work, because I'm very comfortable and competent in welcoming sexuality into the therapy room, regardless of who and how you identify yourself. It's surprising how just having permission to talk about it and to allow those movements and those patterns to be arising in a conversation and then falling away and just being a fluid part of your life, like how much energy that can free up just by that invitation, even outside of the context of awakening or anything like overtly spiritual or energetic, that we're hardwired to create more life. And that will look different in every body. Every body might have a very different kind of intensity or lack of intensity in that process of creation. Just because someone might feel like totally not interested in creation doesn't mean that that process is still playing itself out and susceptible to its environment. And I don't even mean like susceptible to being aroused, but susceptible to shutting down, like in a healthy way. Like we're not going to be aroused by everything. We're going to be in a preserved mode at times, or protected mode, and that's healthy. But other times, like if life in the alive moment is experiencing a sexual movement, like there's nothing that points more clearly to the awakening process than that, in my experience. Because to get there, to be able to feel it, we have to, for many of us, both women and men, and any orientation on the non-binary spectrum, like we have to cut through all the shame and all the contraction around never being enough of that certain kind of identity that we had to be around sexuality. And there's so much shame, and there's such strong identities, because it's so powerful, the energy of, like, it's almost like a volcano at certain moments. Not always, like sexuality can be very gentle and slow, but to push that down, like that's a lot of work and a lot of collective work, and it's very dangerous for many people to break out of that conditioning and to allow the freedom of life energy to move through them, because they could be harmed. The level of rejection at a place of sexuality, and I have experienced it as a woman, even just showing up and being seen as a woman in a place where It's not expected to see a woman, and to see a woman in femininity and in openness and in power can be threatening to someone else's identity, and it can be responded to with violence, shutting that person down, pushing that person down. So why am I risking like putting this video out there and welcoming that kind of attention if it comes my way? Well, I don't know why, but there is a pattern that's driving this aliveness to speak in the people that I'm working with around awakening. And that is primarily for men. It doesn't matter their orientation, who they're attracted to, who they're supposed to be attracted to, what they identify with on a surface level of queer or heterosexual or whatever it might be. I haven't encountered this as much with women, and that might, who knows why. And if this is striking a personal note for you, this is, please know, like I honor and value privacy in this process so much. And this is not about any one particular person that I'm revealing something about, but it really is a pattern that I can count. I can't even count at this point the number of people that I've supported in processing this, but that for men in the awakening process, sometimes the shift in identity leads to a lot of confusion in orientation. Can lead to apparently repressed memories or feelings of fear of new attractions or confusion of who or what, or even memories of abuse that never actually happened in a sexual way. And how natural is that when we've been living in this vacuum of so much force and energy of repressing something down, that when identity shifts, and of course it will hook into every facet of who we are, the movement of sexual life is going to stir a lot. And so what I would say to someone who's, I wish I had more time to talk about this because it's, I have someone coming in a moment, but to someone who is experiencing something, going through identity shifts, who's experiencing some maybe disturbing or unexpected experiences or memories or nervous system states related to their sexuality, or even questioning, should I even be with the partner that I'm with right now, or who am I in relationship now? This is a really important question, and I think it's really valuable that this may be coming up for you, because it means that you're really on a deep level, like letting go of stuckness. And that kind of next movement of awakening is relational, so it will hook into the relationships that you engage with. But I would say, like, wait, just give it some time and space. Not to get an answer, but to notice that these shifting patterns are almost like, oh, I'm sorry, I just hit my microphone. Almost like frozen icicles that are melting and then revealing something like a leaf underneath that's going to be more fluid, but it's going to be its own little body. Like, it's going to know what it is in the moment, and it'll know that it bends and moves, but you don't have to push those thoughts away of like, what if I'm attracted to women, or what if I'm not attracted to women anymore, or like, what if something happened to me, or what if, like, you don't have to push those thoughts away. They're just surfacing, they're just coming through, but you also don't have to believe them to be true. That it might be unfolding still, might continue to unfold. And on the relational level, if you can just allow the openness that's moving through you to have its own intelligence in relationship, there might be times where you need privacy and you need to close, and that sense of closing will feel clear and clean. And other times where it's just naturally open and there's more space and natural propensity to connect, and letting that lead you. Yeah. That's all for now.